Hi guys, Chris here with Super Savvy Travelers. Today is a really special day because I'm finally gaining access to a building I have been lusting over for years. But before I go into that, I want to remind you, please like this video, share it with all your friends, and subscribe to our channel because we have some spectacular properties coming up. Also, I want to let you know if you want to buy this property or any other property in Italy and you need someone to take you through the process for your people. So that said, let me tell you about this building. This is a Vecchio Frantoio, which is an old olive mill. Now we have 3 olive mills that I think are pretty interesting in Santa Domenica Talao. The first one is the one that we purchased through our nonprofit, and we're renovating it into a little museum for, the people that live here, the people who want to come, anybody who wants to come see how things were done back in the 1700s. You can come here and check out our little olive mill up in the village of Santa Domenica Talao. The second one is this one. This one dates around the 1900s. It has all the original equipment in it, which is so cool. If it were me, I would keep that in there and do whatever with it, because you're going to have at least 600 square meters of space here that you can do whatever you want with. The other one is the brand new Frantoio down below, which is really high-end and high-tech. So you have pre-industrial era, industrial era, and now the technical era. But we're going to go take a look because I've been wanting to see this place forever. Okay, we are inside this amazing structure, and Antonello just gave us the whole history and he's going to give it to you. Allora Antonello, questo era un frantoio da 1900.
Sì, 1910 circa, ed è un esempio di laboratorio, ecco, proprio industriale, il primo frantoio con motore meccanizzato, perché fino a quell'epoca si usavano quei frantoi con manuali,
Sì, con
l'asino
Sì.
che girava le pietre del frantoio. Invece questa persona tornò dall'America e fece costruire questo edificio perché voleva appunto un frantoio all'avanguardia insieme al mulino.
Ok.
E quindi cominciarono a costruire questo grosso edificio in pietra e mattoni, con delle grosse fondazioni, perché evidentemente era previsto qualche altro livello superiore.
Ok.
Quindi da qui è l'ingresso, dove le persone si fermavano qui per quanto riguarda il grano.
Sì.
Portavano il grano in questa stanza e aspettavano il loro turno per essere macinato nella seconda stanza.
Okay. So I was a little mistaken, but not very much mistaken. This is not only an olive mill, but it was also a grain mill. So this was handling all your grinding needs here back in the late 1800s and early 1900s. Amazing.
Questo era il vecchio mulino, dove appunto portavano varie granaglie che coltivavano nel nostro territorio per ottenere poi la farina, la crusca, ecco, poi lo usavano per il pane, le varie famiglie, per fare la pasta, insomma.
Sì, ok, e in questo modo non era una pietra come...
No,
Yeah.
tutto c'è un sistema di tramogge per macinare il grano, poi veniva vagliato anche con questo mezzo, di andare in questo modo, e poi veniva... erano collegati e da qui con i sacchi riempivano.
Ok, so it all came down from here. Allora devono andare sopra per mettere il grano.
Sì,
E poi
sì.
sono andati qui e fini qui. Okay, so the grain was put in upstairs. We can't go upstairs because it's not safe. Normally we would, because we're pretty intrepid that way, but Antonello says, no, we probably shouldn't do that. So anyway, it all came down here. It got ground up, and they didn't use pietra. They didn't use stone. Now, I had read about, when they use stone, sometimes pieces of stone would come in and break the teeth. This was where all that changed, and where you had the grain being ground up by machines. These were the first machines, really, to grind grain and olives and stuff. This was that time period. So this was a huge change in how life was and how things got industrialized. Really quite amazing. So they would bring their grain in, it would grind up. Somehow it would end up over here, and they'd fill up their sacks and take it home. Okay, so as you can see, we talked about how the grain was ground up, and it would end up in this big box here. Now you can see up here that it moves along rails, and it has a little hookup here that would hook up with these things and somehow ended up in the sacks below. the amount of engineering in these particular machines, even though you can see how they work, was really quite brilliant.
In questa stanza invece abbiamo il frantoio e dal piano di sopra, dove venivano accumulate le olive, le scaraventavano attraverso quel tubo di legno
Sì.
e arrivava
Wow.
in questa macchine
Sì.
che li faceva muovere con questo motore
Wow. Wow.
regina, e quindi si realizzava la pasta delle
Sì.
olive.
Sì.
Questa pasta poi veniva prelevata e usciva da qui,
Ah, ok. La pasta.
la pasta,
Yeah.
con i carrelli poi veniva portata, vedi con quel carrello.
Ah, the little carrello. That's for, okay, these little carrelli were for receiving the pasta. So the olives got crunched into a pasta, and it would come out that little door down there, and it would go into these cute little cards. Questi sono carinissimi.
Sì. E venivano messe poi
Ok.
nelle presse,
Allora,
si mettevano le stuoie,
yeah.
poi dei dischi di ferro
Uh-huh.
e la pasta, poi di nuovo la stuoia con
Yeah.
il disco, e quindi poi c'era questa pressa,
Yeah.
questi pesi, in modo tale che schiacciando usciva fuori l'olio.
Ok, e era una come cestina, vero? Una cestina hanno preso.
Sì, poi c'era, non vedo il pezzo di sotto,
Sì.
in pratica c'era questo, diciamo, no, cesto, un cerchio
Ok.
un po' rialzato dai lati,
Sì.
dove appunto veniva con un ferro centrale,
Sì.
si infilavano queste
Yeah.
stuoie e i ferri,
Ok.
e quindi l'olio poi si raccoglieva tutto nella parte
Sì,
sotto,
ok.
e quindi poi si prelevava.
Okay, okay, so this is really cool. Now, for those of you who don't know, I did create a little olive oil course because I was trying to pilot stuff and I wanted to learn all about olive oil. There's down in the details, you can go and sign up for that course. It's very inexpensive. But in the course, there is a book by a doctor who lived around the 1800s, and he wrote all about, in very impressive detail, all about how this was done back in the day. And it's so exciting for me to, having read that book and how important it was and how everything was so technically done, to see all of these little things. So what would happen was the pasta would be put into these baskets, or not baskets, but a container that's round. And then these filter things would be put on top and then be pressed. And the olive oil would squirt out into a receptacle down below. Now, it's very interesting because in that book, which you do get as part of the course, you can see all of the little illustrations on how it was done. But this, here it is in life, and it's absolutely amazing. These machines are just marvels in engineering, and to me, it's just so exciting to see it. Okay, I wanted to talk about some of the architectural details in this place. Now, Antonello talked about how really thick the foundation is. It's like cement halfway down to the other side of the earth, apparently, and it's very, very solid. So that's good news, because foundations you don't want to deal with. There's a gorgeous window behind Pete where you could put a gorgeous window or stained glass or whatever you want to do. Now, look up here at the ceiling. You have these little wavy things, where you have the travi in there. The travi are the supports, and then little bricks covering it, and then over the little bricks is usually plaster or stucco or something like that. So this is really very, very reminiscent of the ceilings that you see in Tuscany. I haven't seen them here, so it's very interesting that they have them in this particular structure. Now, the guy who started this place really had a lot of grand ideas, and he knew he was going to build up another layer on top, and there is a whole another layer on top of living space. This one down here is about 300 square meters, and then upstairs is another 300 square meters. And I'm looking at what you could have up there. You could have a roof terrace that has the most spectacular sea view you could ever imagine. This is such a cool place. I just love it. Okay, so this other part here is gorgeous. There's these huge brick arches inside, and the roof has caved in, so there's a lot of light there. So I don't know, maybe I'd do something with that. Maybe leave that corner all open and put a big window upstairs or glass or something, because I really love how the light comes in behind these arches. It's really spectacular. Now, this whole part here, Antonello says, would make a very nice room for a restaurant or an event center or wedding venues. Who knows? I mean, you could do anything with this place. There's so much room. Now, if you want to talk about an event center or a wedding center, this would be perfect because you could put the residences up there and you could have the events down here. You could turn it into a restaurant. You could do an event center. You could turn it into, what do they call them? Casa Scalea, which are townhouses. You could make a bunch of different residential units in here and yet keep the ambiance of this beautiful old structure. That would be a bit of a shame though, because I would really like to see all of this equipment stay here. First of all, it's going to be crazy to move, but secondly, it's really cool.
È molto toscana.
Sì, è vero, è vero. It's very Tuscan, he says, and I agree because of the ceilings and the arches and everything else. Now you can see that the ceiling is just on its last legs. We are not going to go in there. Even as intrepid as we are, we don't have our super savvy hard hats today, so we're not going to set foot inside that space. But boy, oh boy, you could see just how amazing it could be. Okay, so Antonello tells me these are all the little carts that you put underneath the collection thing to collect the oil. You can see they look like little bowls on wheels, and they're amazing. I mean, they go back to the 1800s. I would just love to have one and fix it all up and just use it as a cart, although the wheels are metal, so it would pretty much trash any road you're on. What a cool touch of history is in this house. I mean, you could do whatever you want with all the stuff that's in it, clean it all up, put it in the garden, do whatever. I mean, it could be an amazing project. Now, Antonello was telling me that all of these tubs and things here were used to store oil because people would come from all over the area. You saw how big the crusher was and how much olives and olive oil could have been created at one time. So people came from all over the area to crush their olives here and gather the oil. So they had to store it somewhere, and they stored it in these iron tubs here. And also they had amphora that they would use to store the olive oil in. I don't see any of those here. They're probably long gone. They were terracotta or whatever, but the iron ones are still here. They're a little crusted with rust, as you can imagine, but you could clean them up and make them something spectacular.